We have 0 attendees for some reason.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
I was beginning to worry too. Because I know we changed the link with updating the webinar settings, so. All right. Welcome to the Southwest Community Policing Council meeting today for our September meeting. Our topic for this month is suicide prevention, highlighting gun violence and bullying as well, which will be the majority of our conversation today. We have some amazing panelists this evening, such as Angel Garcia and Tonya Covington, as well as other guests that you see on your screen. My name is Teresa, and I'm the chair of the Southwest CPC. It is now 6:01, and I would like to call this meeting to order. Before we take roll call and begin our meeting for the Southwest CPC, the Southwest has been recently impacted by the loss of hero Bennie Hargrove, where I would like to turn this over to our secretary, Robbie V. Hill.
All right, hello, my name is Robbie. I'm the secretary. Welcome to our August 1st meeting of the Southwest Community Policing Council. Tonight, our meeting is dedicated to the memory of Bennie Hargrove, who was murdered by a classmate at Washington Middle School on August 14th, 2021. It's known that Bennie was defending a friend that was being bullied. Tonight, we'll have a conversation about bullying and suicide. Both are important issues to the council, to our community, and to our nation. Please join us in a moment of silence for our courageous community member, Bennie Hargrove. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Steffi Griego, our moderator for tonight's meeting.
Oh, just a second, Robbie, before we go on to the introduction the panel discussion. We would also like to thank the Washington Middle School staff. They have been invited to the meeting, and if you are in attendance tonight, please let us know. We would love to hear from you as well during this meeting. Now I would like to take time to do a quick roll call of our CPC members. Please let us know you are here or raise your hand so the attendees can see you on the screen. Dr. Jonathan Madison, our co-chair.
I'm present.
Stephanie Griego.
Present.
Wanda Harrison. Andrea Lester Young. Perfect, thank you. Secretary Robbie V. Hill.
Present.
Joseph Koloski.
Present.
David Reza. And Chris Cedillo.
Present.
Perfect, thank you, sir. It looks like we are missing Wanda and David for tonight. They might log on a little bit later. Now moving on to address some housekeeping items for those of you that are joining us for the first time. I wanted to make you all aware that this meeting is recorded and it is uploaded to our YouTube channel by our CPC liaison, Kelly Mensa, who is also here with us. Kelly, if you would like to say hey.
How is everyone tonight? I hope you're all having a good evening.
I am going to go ahead and put the link for our CPC meeting council recordings in the chat, so you all can take a look at prior meetings if you would like to do so. This is a webinar where attendees cannot be seen on the screen except for the panelist. And You can be brought on the screen just with the permission of us if there's something that you would like to ask or if it's appropriate. You're also welcome to please place your questions in the chat or use the Q&A section where our CPC members will be facilitating those to make sure that nobody is missed. All right, so moving forward with our agenda, I would like to move for the approval of our agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion.
A second?
I second it, Chris Deal.
Thank you, Chris. All right, perfect. So we move to approve the September agenda. Next, we have the approval of past minutes for our August meeting. Is there a motion to approve the past minutes?
Motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
Second, this is Steph.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. So we move to approve the prior minutes. I would like now to introduce Lieutenant David Baca, who is filling in for our Southwest Area Commander Timothy Espinosa, where he will give us updates on hopefully the current topic and for the Southwest Area Command. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Good evening, and thanks for having me. Commander Espinosa apologizes. He had a family emergency he had to contend with this evening. I don't know if it keeps doing that. The agenda, so I just got that a little while ago, so at this point in time, I'm off the agenda, but I will just want to bring to your attention that we just start a new bid on Saturday, which means that we have a whole slew of new officers in the Southwest Area Command, including some new supervisors. Many of us are still here from previous years in the Southwest Area Command. Commander Espinosa wanted you guys to know that he would be sending out on the next newsletter contact information for all the new supervisors in the Southwest Area Command so that you can get to know them. And one of the things that has been started is what we are calling Cop on the Corner. And that started last week. Unfortunately, it started on the Thursday where we had a incident in the foothills involving several officers, so it kind of got shut down that particular day. But what that's going to entail is we're going to have field briefings in neighborhoods where there will be invitations sent out to the neighborhood associations for the field briefing, so that normally a field briefing, the officers are there to show a presence in the neighborhood and for everybody, or to discuss whatever problem we might be having in that neighborhood and show a presence. Under this new program, we're going to be inviting the neighborhood so that the neighbors can come out to the field briefing and meet the officers, talk with the officers, and whatever sort of information or questions they may have of the officers regarding their neighborhood or anything else going on within the police department, they can address with the officers. Those dates are going to be set up by the chief's office and the mayor's office, and when we get them, the neighborhood associations will be told where we're going to be and when we're going to be there. And it's mostly going to be for the day shift and swing shift briefings, because that's generally when the public's going to be awake. And those are 6:30 in the morning and 2 to 2:30 in the afternoon for swing shift. So be looking forward to those. When they affect your neighborhood association, you should be notified of when and where they're going to be taking place. Otherwise, at this point, I really don't have much more to say with what's going on in the Southwest this week.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant David Baca, for being here with us and giving us those updates. We really appreciate that. So looking at our agenda, we are now heading into our topic of discussion. I wanted to go ahead and introduce Stephanie Griego, who is a council member that will be facilitating the discussion, as mentioned earlier, with our esteemed guests, Angel Garcia and Tonya Covington. And I'll turn it over to you, Stephanie.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I want to thank Tonya and Angel for being here and helping us talk about this terrible gun violence and things we have going on in the community. And I want to give a little bit of a bio on both of you. So if you just give me a sec. I want to introduce Tonya Covington. She's with RAD, which is the Rapid Accountability Diversion program with the city of Albuquerque. I believe it is with APD, right? Is that right, Tonya? And Angel Garcia is with the VIP Violence Intervention Program with the City of Albuquerque. They're going to discuss options for changing the pattern of violence in the Southwest Area Command and in Albuquerque, our whole community. Tonya Covington was appointed by the mayor of Albuquerque to bring restorative justice to the city. She is the immediate past president of the New Mexico Mediation Association. Tonya has been a trained mediator and teacher of mediation since 1988. She has expertise in restorative justice, workplace, family, transformative, cross-cultural, postal, divorce, and elder mediation. Mr. Angel Garcia was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. He became a product of his environment as an active gang member from the ages 12 to 33 years old. He is 4-time convicted felon. He spent most of his adult life in prison. He did move to Albuquerque in the hopes of changing his life, and boy, did he. His first move upon arrival was to enroll in CNM, and after enrolling in CNM, his life changed beyond his wildest dreams. He now works for Mayor Tim Kelly for the Violence Intervention Program, proving that with the right resources and support, anybody can change for the better and make a difference. Again, I want to thank you both for being here. And I want to open up the discussion or let you talk about methods that work to prevent gun violence and the desire to solve problems by using guns. How can you tell us that your programs are working on this situation? Or if you just want to talk about your programs in general, that would be great too. But I want to know what your, since we're talking about suicide and it was involving gun violence, what are your programs doing to work with that situation?
So I'll start off. So my program, it's in the name, violence intervention. So most of the, when we got asked to speak, we were told we were going to speak about a little bit about the situation that happened at Washington Middle School and how, if anything, how maybe it could have been avoided. And on the, so that's prevention. On the prevention piece, Tonya has a lot of good points that she's going to talk about and things that we're hoping to build out here in the community. But as for me, as it goes, my program is after the fact, talking to the families, intervening in the cycles of violence. So like mostly what we do when somebody gets shot, when they're victims of gun violence, we go out and talk to them to try to prevent any more violence, any retaliatory shootings. We also offer resources to that person. If it's a homicide, we reach out to the family and offer services like the Crime Victims Reparation Commission has. They'll help out with up to $6,000 in funeral expenses. Also grief counseling if they need therapy. But right now it's very victim and individual driven, but also in the works, we have a trauma recovery center that we're trying to implement and bring to town, where it's going to address more familial and community trauma, addressing the trauma that violence causes, you know. And because if we're being honest, on that day in Washington Middle School, two families got ruined, you know. So there's trauma on both sides. So helping the community heal from those type of traumas is something that we're trying to bring. But as of right now, our program just does peer interventions. Tonya and I were talking earlier, and we were talking about possible ways that this could have been prevented. And, you know, just there's certain protective factors that could have been implemented in the school that could have possibly prevented this incident, you know. School, as it is supposed to be a protective factor. You know, they're supposed to be there from 8 to 2. They're supposed to be safe. But as we saw in this tragedy that day, it wasn't enough. So Tonya, did you want to chime in?
Sure. Thank you all for having me here. Two things I want to talk about. First, the RAD program, which is also sort of a prevention program. The RAD program specifically takes referrals from police officers, and it's involving juveniles, anybody from 14 to the age of 20, who has been picked up for underage drinking, shoplifting, street racing, or having done property damage. If they write them up and send them to me, then I put them in a 4-week restorative justice class. We talk to them about what they've done. We talk to them about anger management, communication, a lot of things that will really help them. But what I want to talk about most of all is restorative justice. I have been trying for a very long time to get Albuquerque Public Schools to really embrace restorative justice and to do it correctly. They haven't. And it's one of those things where I feel like one of the things that people do an awful lot of times when something like this happens is everybody has a knee-jerk reaction and they want to put a Band-Aid on. And one of the things that we have heard is people saying, well, we need more cops in the school. I disagree with that. And I think it's very, very unfair for us to try and put this off on our police department. Police are supposed to come to a scene after something has happened. They're not preventionists, and they shouldn't be asked to be preventionists. What we need to do is work on the real problem, and the real problem is even more than gun violence. What we need to be working on is teaching young people and other people that there are ways that you can solve disputes without having to go get a gun. There is something very, very wrong, you know, in our society when a 13-year-old feels like, you know, the only way to solve something is to go and get their dad's gun. There used to be a time when kids would just have a fist fight, you know, and, you know, go to the principal's office. But things have just so gotten out of hand. I've been doing these kinds of programs for a very long time, and in doing them, we always talk to the kids afterwards and do evaluations. And one of the things that the kids have told us over and over and over again is, I didn't know I could do anything other than be violent, because that's how everybody in my family solves things. We punch people, or, you know, we go get a gun. So that's all I knew. And they have really thanked us for giving them a different skill, just teaching them how it is that you sit down and talk to somebody, how it is that you control your anger and what kind of coping mechanisms that you can use. I feel like this needs to be started in all schools. It needs to be started K through 12. One of the things that I feel like would have made a big difference at Washington Middle School is when they are doing a full restorative justice program, teachers check in with kids every day. And, you know, when they first come to school, they talk to them about what's going on at home, how are you feeling, whatever. So this, the kid who was the shooter obviously has a whole lot of problems and a lot of things going on at home that he doesn't know how to handle. If he had been asked, what's happening to you, what's going on in your household, he probably would have told somebody if he was in a situation where he felt safe. Then there could have been some early intervention that would have kept him from feeling the need to go and get a gun. And we've seen this work time and time again. It's worked in other countries. It works in cities across the United States. We know that what we are doing right now is not working. So it's time that we started doing something different. Any questions or comments or? And I did just put something in the chat there that came from the Centers for Disease Control about gun violence.
Oh, Tonya, you said you're trying to work with APS. What is the holdup there that they're not wanting to implement this restorative program?
That's a very long story, unfortunately. Anybody that's tried to work with APS knows that they have a tendency to be difficult, and they don't like people coming in from the outside telling them what to do or how to do anything. One of the major things about restorative justice is it needs to come from the community and be community-led. And APS has never been very big about inviting the community in to do anything.
Another thing I noticed on your webpage, Angel, this is for you, is you go sue the victim when they're in the hospital. I work for the Rape Crisis Center, and I have one client in mind. When you approach these victims that have been shot and they're in the hospital, bringing the police with you, I saw a negative outcome, in other words. So I know you go with the police. Is that always the option that you have, is taking the police with you?
So before, yes, at the hospital, I wouldn't be let in on my own if I wasn't with a police officer. We have recently, that it kicked off August 9th, we kicked off a hospital-based violence intervention program where I now have this. I'm allowed to walk in there by myself. All I have to do is ask for the person, and they'll give me because well, I don't know if you guys know this, but when people get shot, they're put in the hospital, they get placed under a different, they call it a trauma alert name. So I get to go in there and they'll give me all that information and they'll let me know where they're at, and I could go talk to them by myself now. But even prior to that, my interactions with people at the hospital, like I'll give you one example. My first intervention ever was at the hospital. A young man who got shot, he was a paraplegic due to the incident. When when we walked in, the first thing he said was, I don't talk to cops. So then that was fine, the sergeant told him, hey, look, man, that's fine. I'm not gonna say nothing, but just at least hear Angel out. And once I started telling him my story, a bit about me and all the time I've done in prison, and I've been shot too, so I know how it feels. Fortunately for me, I wasn't paralyzed. I did get shot in my back, but by the time I was done telling him, how lonely of a life I truly know it is, running around in the streets when, so he started tearing up, he started crying. By the time I was done talking to him, he was engaging with the sergeant too, making jokes with him. So a big part of this program, it's a new way. It's also a way for APD to show a different side of themselves, because this program is not about arrest. This program is about APD showing the community that they're there for them. Because the message is, even from me and from APD, the deputy commander that goes out with me, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is like, look, you're not in trouble. I'm not here for the investigation. I don't want to talk about what happened. I'm here to tell you that I care about you. I don't want to see you dead. I don't want to see you do something to somebody else where now you have to go away to prison for the rest of your life or hurt anybody. And then even that, I've noticed it throws people off their game, because they're like, because they've never heard these words before from a police officer. So after I talk to them, a lot of the times, so 30%, we're about 30% of the people we've spoken to are engaging in services. That's a little bit higher than the national average. And whether it's just calling me for a food box, they're still calling me. And that's what I encourage, just as long as I could keep that communication with them and for us, me as a city worker, as working for local government, showing them like, look, we're here and we really are trying to help you guys. That goes a long way, because these are the highest risk individuals in Albuquerque that we're serving and that we're reaching out to. And historically, these are the people that never accept services.
Yeah, I just know that being a victim in other circumstances, having a police officer is very intimidating. So I'm glad they take a different approach to
Yeah.
make the victim feel comfortable. I see a big difference with our officers doing that anymore, being trauma informed. That's what helps our community. Tonya, what do you think we could do as a community to help you get this program into APS? What do you think, as a CPC here, what can we do to help you?
Well, I think that there has to be enough support from the community to say that this is important. One of the other things that we're working on right now is I'm starting 2 community centers in the southeast district that are going to be community restorative justice centers, so that if people have problems in their neighborhood, problems with a family member, they can come there and we will help them work it out. And this is our way of showing the community, here's another way that you can do things without having to be violent. And it will be handled by volunteers from their community who will be trained. We've already have a group of about 20 who've already been trained and are ready to go.
Wow.
But this is something that I'm also hoping that we might be able to even do something with kids, through there. Maybe after school programs. One of the other things is that when you teach kids how to do restorative justice, they're very, very good at it. And it gives them a new skill. And I feel like it's the kind of thing that we should be teaching in school. Right now we have a kid who can't read, we teach him how to read. We have a kid who doesn't know how to do math, we teach him how to do math. But if we have a kid that doesn't know how to behave, we kick him out of school. And that really doesn't make sense. You can teach them everything else. You can teach them how to control their behavior as well.
So if a community member would want to suggest an area or individuals with tensions that may escalate to gun usage, how do they contact either one of your organizations? And that was from Terry.
Okay, they can certainly call me at any time, or they can call the city and ask for the RAD program. If you call 311 and ask for the RAD program, that'll get directly to me. And again, I will, set something up, talk to people immediately and see what we can do. And like I say, we now have 2 centers where we're able to do this, so.
And how about you, Angel? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, I just put my number in the chat. I put my number in the chat, and if I can't do anything about it, I surely will get it to the person that can, or to the person that needs to hear about it. I seriously don't mind being a liaison for the community and any government agency here in the city. Just reach out to me and I'll help you out to the best of my abilities. If not, I'll get you to the person who can help you out. I also put a link to a survey on the chat, because right now VIP is going through strategic planning where we really want to hear from the community how we could better, and this is in response to Zachariah. We really want community's input, and we want more community to get involved with us, because yes, you are exactly right, Zachariah. In cities where there's other violence intervention programs, the most successful cities in the country are cities that have major community buy-in and assistance as well. So that's so now we implemented our program right in the beginning of the lockdown last May. I came on in May, Jerry came on in June. So we built this out in the middle of the pandemic. So now that we're the restrictions are kind of loosening up. We're trying to get more community buy-in so that we could do more things together with the community.
Okay, on that, Zachariah had written on the chat that he thinks it would be great to have community leaders active in violence intervention, in the violence intervention program. And it says maybe with an officer to reinforce what the community leader has to say through experience, as you were saying. Community healing starts with our kids.
No, yeah, no, definitely, I agree. So there's plans for future like peace walks where in the evenings on the days where usually like Friday nights, Saturday nights, me, faith-based leaders and people from the community, we're gonna walk through certain neighborhoods with our identifiers, which will be like hoodies or jackets or whatever. And we'll be passing out resources, food if we need to, but also engaging the community, you know? We'll be walking with our lanterns or whatever, just to keep ourselves well lit and just engaging with the community. And they've done that. They've done that like in Oakland, they've done it in Boston. And it's a proven way of bringing down violence in the communities. So definitely, if you guys could share the survey with all of your networks and respond to it, we would definitely love hearing from you guys.
Right. We will definitely share on our Facebook page and our own networks. That would be a great idea. And Terry asked, do you go to the area schools to share information about RAD and VIP? Now, I know, Tonya, you're having a hard time getting into APS, but Angel, have you tried working with APS?
So the department I work for is Family and Community Services. Family and Community Services is the department that runs all the community centers. Through my department, there's a APS liaison where after the Washington middle school shooting, I was allowed to go into the community centers, and I took a therapist with me to talk to the kids about PTSD, recognizing the signs of PTSD. And so to answer your question, I have engaged with students, but through the community centers, I haven't even tried talking to APS. But also I've gone and talked. I'm a member of LULAC, League of United Latin American Citizens. Some of our council members are teachers at charter schools. I've been to a couple of their classes and talked about gun violence because I got invited, you know. Tonya and I are both totally willing to work with anybody to go talk to the kids. There was also another colleague of Tonya's and mine, his name is Tony Johnson. He had a program where he used to gather all the middle school kids at Wilson Middle School, and he used to bring a reformed, the man turned Christian. He was a Christian, but he was a reformed Mexican mafia member, Kilroy Roybal, who spent like 40 years in prison. He used to come and talk to the kids about going in a better direction and really telling them that the glorification of violence is really not the answer, you know. So there's been things that people have done in our community that we're trying to bring back right now, especially now, you know. And I totally agree with Zachariah, because yeah, healing starts with the kids. And I've been talking to a few people about starting programs as young as elementary, because once in junior high, prevention has to start in elementary, getting them on the right track. I mean, APD has had Explorer programs for high school kids, but at this point, there's already that stigma and kids get bullied, oh, you want to be a cop. But just working with kids from a young age, elementary, because once they get into junior high, they start developing their own little morals, values, and start hanging out with their friends and all that. But if you could reach them young, I think that would be the best preventative measure.
So we have a question from Teresa to Lieutenant David Baca. How do you interact with RAD or VIP to address this or prevent this from happening in our community? And what changes have we done in the Southwest Area Command in light of the shooting at Washington Middle School?
Generally, with both programs, when we come in contact with the situation, a shooting victim, or anything like that, that they may not be aware of. We get in contact with them and make the basically set up for them to make the VIP contact with the people we're dealing with. And then as far as our involvement directly with them is, we have officers that will go out with them sometimes on their VIP contacts and make contact with the people in our area command, so that we have officers from within our area command getting to know these people. But limited as far as how much our officers are involved with the VIP program. And that's mainly, it has to do with just the amount of officers we have and the availability we have to go out on those programs. But we do go out with them at request and make contact with the people within our own area command with them when we're requested to do so with them.
And also just to piggyback off that, the Southwest Area Command made a request to me, and for my department, I put together a bunch of food boxes, and with people from the Southwest, we went out and did outreach from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. over there in the Trovo area, which is Coors and Ilif. And we were handing out food boxes to the homeless population there, and handing out resources, resource cards and informationals, dog food. We handed out dog food that night. So the Southwest does engage with us and ask for us to go out and do things like that. But as Lieutenant said, you know, resources are scarce on both ends, because me on VIP, I'm the only one. I'm the only outreach worker right now. We're building capacity, but I'm very hopeful that in the near future, we're gonna have enough people to pretty much break down the 24 hours of the day if we're needed out there, you know?
Yeah, both Angel and I are a department of one. And so we're doing, you know, as much as we can. We're still having on my end some problems with getting the officers to understand that we're trying to help them by taking some of the misdemeanors and things off their plate, so they don't have to spend time in court and doing things like that. And it's off to a very slow start. In 2 years, I've received 1 referral.
Wow. Does anybody on the panel have any questions for them right now while I look through these other questions?
We might have discussed it earlier, but Ms. Covington, what do you think, what steps do you think could have been taken if they had known that of this tension before it escalated to the events that it did?
They could have talked about it. They could have tried to solve it without letting it get to you know, to get to violence. They could have talked to the other kids in the school, so that the kids who saw the gun would know who was safe that they could talk to. You know, there's all kinds of things that you can, you know, that you can do before something like this happens, but all of it has to do with knowing the kids and talking to the kids and making them feel like they've got somebody that's on their side.
Lieutenant Baca, question for you. We're going to be doing the corner on the cop. Would it be possible for Angel and Tonya Covington to be invited to these cops on the corner? There's a cop on the corner to introduce their resources also. Is that in talks? I think that would be great to bring them into the community and let people know that what they do.
That's something I can bring up to Commander Espinosa. The Cop on the Corner program is kind of coming from the mayor's office and the chief's office on the design of the program. So that is absolutely something we can approach them with and see if we can invite them to come out. And of course, this isn't just Southwest wide, it's citywide. All the area commands are going to be doing this program. So it's definitely something that can be brought to them to invite them when we're going to be doing these. Because like I said before, these are the locations and dates are set to us. The locations are set off of neighborhoods that are requesting it and that want us to be there. And by doing that, they can set the location into that particular neighborhood association area where we can have our field briefing. And the dates are kind of set by the same thing. So what happens is I get notification that we're going to be having the cop on the corner field briefing at this location on this date, and I make sure my people are there. But I will get with Commander Espinosa so he can get with the higher ups about how they want to deal with that and make those invitations. But it definitely is something that could be done, yes.
Okay. I hope that Angel and Tonya would be able to make it, or even count on us to pass out information that you may have. So if anybody out there is in the neighborhood association, make sure they know about the cop on the corner. If they haven't requested it, please do. I mean, that's going to bring, I think, a lot of community togetherness. We need to know our officers, especially now that there's a new bid. It's hard to get to know our officers when it's changing every year, but let's try to see what we can do and work together.
Yeah, one of the things that we're also trying to do is to reach out to neighborhood associations, because they often hear when there's something going on in the community. And so if, you know, people in the neighborhood association can get in touch with me, that's another opportunity that I have to be able to you know, come out and be able to handle things. Our whole thing about doing this is we want to try and handle as much as we can so that people can take care of little things and learn how to solve their own problems without having to dial 911 all the time. You know, we know that we all need cops and they need to be there, but we want them to handle the big stuff and let us handle the little stuff, especially now when there's a shortage of officers.
So along with that, with you wanting to take some of the tasks away from APD to make their job easier, how are you incorporating this with the ACS group, or are you working with the ACS group?
Yes, we both are. I'm on the ACS council in giving them advice and working with them. I've done a lot of the trainings with them. So yes, we're working very closely with them.
Oh, that's good to know.
And on my end, there's a program called CORA, Community Oriented Response and Assistance. This program was designed to go, so like Wilson Middle School, that tragedy that happened there, it would have been Cora's job to go there and put a table with resources, take the responding officers, take the sergeant, the area commander, the captain Salazar from AFR, and talk to everybody about trauma-informed therapy, and to see if anybody needed help, if anybody was experiencing signs of PTSD or whatnot. The young lady that used to do that was in charge of that program. She went and worked for the state, but I just heard today that they filled that position, so that's going to be another option. It's going to be available to the community at the end of the month, and they're going to start having CORA responses again out in the community. So that's another resource that's going to be available to our community. And yeah, so if just reach out to us, and we work very hand in hand with ACS.
I'm glad to hear that, because I think that program is going to be good, and I know they've started, but I think it's got a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to it being a success. Along with your groups, I'm hoping that we're getting out of this, that you guys are there for us, and if there's any way that we can help you, you just go ahead and reach out to us if you need us to help. I mean, see what we can do for you to make these programs a success, because like we said, we need it to start with our kiddos.
Yes.
And elementary, the way these kids are growing up so fast these days, I think elementary is the place to be for you guys. I know you said APS is giving you a hard time. Charter schools, see, my kids are old, so I'm just starting all this stuff up with my grandson. You have elementary, you have APS, but the charter schools, do you have an easier time getting into the charter schools rather than the regular APS schools?
I just recently have been talking to people in charter schools and community schools, okay, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to do this. And it looks like the best way is probably through after-school programs. then that way we don't have to, worry about being invited by APS, but we'll still have access to the kids.
But to answer your question, at least in my experience, it has been easier to get access to charter schools. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm part of LULAC. With LULAC, we partnered also with APD to try to help recruit more people, young students into the PSA class. So we invited a bunch of schools, like the most responsive were the charter schools. So in my experience, it is easier to work with the charter schools.
I kind of thought that would be a good thing. Yeah, I'm glad. So here at Southwest, we can submit a recommendation to APD. And are there any recommendations you think are appropriate to support you with APD? That is a question from Terry.
So, I mean, at least for my program is actually a partnership with my department, Family Community Services, APD, and the mayor's office. So through my program, the program manager is actually an APD employee. So pretty much APD is accessible to us in any way that we need them to be. But we appreciate the offer. Tonya?
We're just, again, hoping to be able to do more education and get some understanding from APD about how we can be of assistance to them.
Okay, so this is from Violet Lopez. I hope I say this right. Huerta. The Albuquerque chaplains, which she is a part of, are also available, and unfortunately without an APS invite, we cannot come into the school, but they want you to know that they are available to help out. Those are the Albuquerque chaplains.
And I appreciate that. I have a friend who is an APD chaplain, who I have also been talking to about this. And yeah, that's, again, that maybe they can join us with some of the after school programs as well, because we also, we have not been invited into APS either.
If anybody knows anybody on here, knows anybody from APS, let's spread the word. You do, Joseph? Let us know who it is. I mean,
I work for APS.
you work for APS? Here at the Rape Crisis Center, we try to do, we do schooling, education prevention for the kids in just a few schools with APS, because it is hard and you have to be invited by that particular school. So we know your struggle just to get into APS. Yes, we do. Anybody have any other questions? I'm not sure if there's any more on the chat. No, we don't have any more questions. Is there anything else you guys would like us to know that we may have missed in your discussion?
There's a question in the chat about, is RAD statewide or just in Albuquerque, Tonya?
It's only Albuquerque. It's a city program.
Yeah, you were appointed by the mayor. I saw on the website that you are the only one listed there. So like you said, you are an office of one.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine how busy, but you're planning to expand and we wish you luck with that. I think it's a great program. And another question I have for you, as far as children that with the mediation, for instance, caseman behavioral with the children and adolescent units, have you ever looked into going there to give any training?
To where? I'm sorry, I didn't.
The behavioral health children and adolescent unit at Caseman?
No, actually, again, that's another thing. I'm a city program, so I'm not able to actually go into that. And in that case, those are kids that usually have some pretty heavy duty problems that, they need to work on therapeutically. But it's again, something that, we could certainly talk about. But right now, I don't think that, that it's a good idea.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering because a lot of it starts when they're young and they end
Yes.
up at that place, and knowing these kiddos that don't know how to communicate, and their way of getting things is to battle,
Yes.
argue, and I see it starting younger and younger.
Yes.
So I was just wondering, like, some of those treatment centers, if that had ever been occurred to you. So
No, it's not something that anybody has ever asked me, about before. So it would be really interesting to look into that, to see if that might be something that could help.
I think it would. I think it would. But we'll
Got it.
find out.
I got to have more than just me, though.
Yeah, we'll get you there. We'll get you there. Okay, at this time, I don't see any more chat, any more questions. Is there anything else from our community that they have any questions or comments, or any of our panelists?
I would just like to say thank you to Tonya and Angel for being here with us today as we await any more questions in the chat, which I do see one. I work for the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and I would love to support you in any way that I can in preventing violence within our communities. So I would love to touch base with you. And I did put it in the chat earlier. As you all know, the Southwest CPCs are able to supply or attain recommendations to where APD can support the community and its needs. And so if we're able to make any recommendations for what's currently happening, please let us know. We would love to work with you, anybody in our community that would like an input. So we look forward to doing that. It looks like we do have one more question in the chat. Is one of the keys trying to foster trust and communication? And that's from our council member, Joseph.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
yeah, like I put in the chat, for me with the participants that I try and serve, our relationship building is key to them, to everything, them trusting me and allowing me to get them to the services that they need.
And that's in our programs with restorative justice. That's primarily why we go into the community, because the community has to understand and has to be a part of it in order for there to be trust and communication. That's very, very important.
Well, I want to thank you both for being here and bringing some light to this. We've had a very rough month with gun violence in our community. And for our APD officers, we just want to thank you for what you do. And we want you to stay safe and know that we're on your side. Right now, Terry, do we want to talk about? No, I think that's all I have at this point. So if we have any other questions, just go ahead and let us know. But other than that, I think we're able to call it the night from what I can see. Anybody have any comments?
It looks like Angel, we do have a couple more things, but Angel, I saw you raise your hand real quick.
Well, actually, I was saying bye.
Oh,
But
I thought you had more to say.
no, I was waving bye. Thanks for having us. But I mean, I'll stay on if there's going to be any other questions.
Yeah, we do have a couple of people on our panel that I wanted to give them a couple minutes to introduce themselves and give a couple of updates if they have any. As you all know, we do have Peter Silva, who serves on the recruiting unit. So Sergeant Silva, would you like to come on and give a brief introduction or any updates if you have any?
Sure. Pete Silva, APD recruiting. I got a few updates just to let you know where everything stands right now as far as recruitment. We've got our class 124. They're going to be graduating in about a month, I think. And there's 48 seated. So it looks like all of those guys are going to graduate. We don't expect any more losses out of that class. And then we got our CNM class with 17. Our lateral class, all around the state, everybody's struggling to get laterals. We currently only have 3 in the backgrounds process. So we've got 9 that are scheduled to test. So we're hoping that all of them pass and make it through. For class 125, which should start either early December or late November, we have 27 that have passed chiefs, which is one of the last steps. And we have 34 in the backgrounds process, and probably about 140, I think the last I looked, that are testing this month. So we're going to try to get as many as we can into that next class, class 125. As Angel was saying, we've been working on PSAs. So we've been meeting with APS groups, LOLAC and some of the charter schools to recruit PSAs and start them early, get them on a career path early in their life. And so that's one of the projects we're working on right now. Currently, we have 3 PSAs in backgrounds and 18 that are scheduled to test later this year. So the chief has put his full support behind this PSA program and really wants it moving forward. I think this is going to be the future of the department right here, getting people into those PSA classes, getting them hired, and then eventually turning them into police officers. And so with that being said, I've been looking at community groups, and I'm hoping that the community can start putting together their own community hiring events where they can recommend applicants to APD, and the APD recruiting unit can dedicate recruiters. We can bring out computers and get people to apply there on the spot, but we would love to see the community bring the folks that they want to see in the police department, and we can just go out there and get them applied on the spot. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Silva. We really appreciate you being with us today and giving a quick update. I also wanted to quickly acknowledge that we have Rachel Hernandez, who's representing Counselor Pena's office. So we're really happy that you're here with us and spending this evening. And we look forward to working with you with other projects in the Southwest. We have one more person on our panel, DC Eric Garcia. It is the first time we've seen you on our screen, and so we would like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. And if you have any updates, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Like Teresa said, I'm Deputy Chief Eric Garcia. I was formerly in charge of the Compliance Bureau with APD. Now I'm in charge of the Police Reform Bureau. And basically that includes both internal affairs, the Internal Affairs Force Division and the Internal Affairs Professional Standards Division. I work for Superintendent Sylvester Stanley, and together we're trying to get us to move forward in the consent decree. I'd like to first of all state too that Angel and Tonya are fantastic, and they're a great resource for APD. So I'd like to thank them for everything they do. Lieutenant Baca in the Southwest, he does a tremendous job. Everybody in our Field Services Bureau out there works hard each and every day, and we appreciate what they do. Sergeant Silva in recruiting, he's doing fantastic, but like he said, we do need more people. And one thing I'd like to update the group on is that tomorrow we'll be filing our progress report. We file that twice a year. And what the progress report talks about is it states our response to all of Dr. Ginger, who's our independent monitor. It talks about everything we're doing to meet each and every one of his recommendations. So that should be filed tomorrow. So I'd highly recommend that you read that document.
Thank you so much, DC Garcia. We're really happy to have you here. All right. If there are no more questions in the chat or any comments, we do want to end this meeting by acknowledging our police officers and thanking you all for your service. I know it's been quite difficult with the shootings and the 4 officers as of recent, and just to let you all know that we at the Southwest CPC are in support and acknowledge that it may be a difficult time right now, and we are going to be delivering something special to the Southwest Area Command in thanks for all that you do. And again, we really just appreciate everything you all do within our community and going to other communities to protect those within our community. And so thank you again. It is now 6:59. We are ending 30 minutes early. If there's nobody else that needs to make any comments or would like to make a comment before we close, you are welcome to do so. All right, perfect. Well, enjoy your night. Please follow us on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and join our mailing listserv. And I am looking forward to connecting with you all outside of the Southwest CPC, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. See you, Kelly.